Hi, I'm Rebecca Valcarcel. Let's talk about One Art, a poem by Elizabeth Bishop. The first thing we notice with this poem is that it uses an intricate form. It's called a villanelle, which comes down to us from French folk singers, and poets use it as a challenge to try to write in a really tough form. For one thing, this form requires repeated lines. It also uses a lot of rhyme. And a strict villanelle has a syllable count that you have to keep to, but Elizabeth Bishop went ahead and let that go. Hers is a little bit loose as far as villanelles go, but she does keep to the rhyme, and I think you can hear it as I read it here. One Art. The art of losing isn't hard to master. So many things seem filled with the intent to be lost, that their loss is no disaster. Lose something every day. Accept the fluster of lost door keys, the hour badly spent. The art of losing isn't hard to master. Then practice losing farther, losing faster. Places and names, and where it was you meant to travel. None of these will bring disaster. I lost my mother's watch, and look, my last, or next to last, of 3 loved houses went. The art of losing isn't hard to master. I lost 2 cities, lovely ones, and vaster, some realms I owned, 2 rivers, a continent. I miss them, but it wasn't a disaster. Even losing you, the joking voice, a gesture I love, I shan't have lied. It's evident the art of losing's not too hard to master, though it may look like, write it, like disaster. Okay, let's take a look at how she's put this poem together. Obviously, she has aster, ent, aster as the 2 repeated sounds. We've got faster and disaster, last or, vaster, some tricky ones there. Last or is a creative way to fulfill that rhyme. And then we have ent, ment, continent, intent, etc. So she's got that all squared away with the rhyme. But notice too how she's moving progressively through the poem from insignificant things that one could lose to much more difficult things to lose, and then finally ending with a person, the very hardest thing in our lives that we have to lose and say goodbye to. The whole poem, in fact, makes a claim that you may agree with or disagree with, but she claims that we need to be good at losing, that it is an art. And this art is something we must master, and in fact that it's not too hard to master. Now, by the end we can see that she admits that maybe it is a little bit hard, but the claim is that the art of losing isn't hard to master. So the art of saying goodbye, the art of healing after a loss, this is something we can master and get good at. And life is full of departures and losing, so it seems like a good idea. However, she shows how hard it is by the time we get to the end. But let's look at the very beginning. First, she says, many things seem filled with the intent to be lost. It's almost like everything wants to be lost. And then she gives examples, the lost door keys and an hour of time that's spent badly. You can't get that back, but you can get over the fact that you wasted it. Then she mentions places and names, and where you meant to travel, destinations, so plans. And at this point she's talking to the reader and saying, well, you should practice losing farther and losing faster, and these are the kinds of things you should practice losing. And of course life makes us practice losing all the time, so we're going to be doing that. But then she moves to her mother's watch, which is a personal memento, an heirloom perhaps, something that meant a lot to her. To lose that object was a little harder. And then 3 loved houses, that's a little harder because you get attached to your house. You invest in it, you paint the walls, and then, you have to move. So when she says she's lost houses, it means she's had to move away and say goodbye. And the same thing with cities, she's had to move away from, rivers, and even a continent. And sure enough, in real life, the poet moved to Brazil. So she had to leave behind North America and embrace South America. So she knows what it means to have to leave your whole way of life behind and start in a new place. But the worst thing, or rather the hardest thing to lose, is you. And she tries to say, now, even losing you, it's still not a disaster, but it's difficult. Because look at this stanza. Even losing you, the joking voice, a gesture I love. And notice how the line ends on the word gesture, because it's got to rhyme, but I love is on the next line. That's called enjambment. That means that her sentence does not end where the line ends. So she says a joking voice, a gesture. These are details about the loved one or the family member who's been lost. And these things make it even harder to say goodbye or harder to lose this person. We remember the joking voice, the gesture, but even then, she says, I shan't have lied. I won't have lied. It's still true that the art of losing is not too hard to master. And here she uses enjambment again because she says, it's evident. That's the end of the line, but it's not the end of the sentence. It's evident the art of losing is not too hard to master. She's also added a word. She's not supposed to do that. The villanelle form requires you repeat the line strictly, but she says the art of losing is not too hard to master. So this is an admission on her part. Oh yeah, it kind of is hard to master. But she says, no, it's not too hard. Really, is it? But this too implies that it is hard. But she's convincing herself that she's going to be able to master it. And at the same time that she knows that's true, she's admitting that it's difficult. And then the last line reveals it even more, this difficulty. She says, though it may look like, write it, like disaster. So write it in the parenthetical phrase is a moment where she talks to herself. So she steps out of talking to the reader and turns to herself and says, write that last word, disaster. The villanelle form requires that the last word be disaster, that she complete the thought, that she deliver this message, and that she believe it herself, that losing is something she can master. She can figure out how to do this. The form requires that she figure out how to do this, and we might even say life requires that she figure out how to do this. And this is why this form is such a good fit for the theme. The form is inexorable, or we could say that the form will not let her go. You must finish the line the way the form requires, and you must go through life dealing with loss. These are the rules, that you're going to lose things and you're going to have to get over that and heal somehow from it and somehow go on. And when she says write it, she's accepting the fact that this is hard, but that it must be, that she has to take her own advice and let go of the loved one, the you in the poem. So this is quite a clever poem, the way it's put together and follows the villanelle pattern and uses the villanelle pattern to convey this theme. Well, I hope you enjoyed looking at this poem with me. It's one of my favorites by Elizabeth Bishop, and I have a video on another one of hers called The Fish. So if you like this one, you might go check out The Fish. Enjoy your day.